Ocean and Siaits, Yumps Queen Sna, Scottbishoth, Tamail, Kayachtin, SFU, Kayachtin, Scotomish, Tamail, Kayachtin, Tamusquium, Tamail, Kayachtin, Sleotooth, Tamail, Kayachtin, Stopmuth. Honored friends, family, guests, I just thought I'd grab your attention. I don't mean to yell at you. Just to get everyone's attention to start this work that we're going to be doing today on this beautiful day to honor what we see here. But before we start our official cultural work, there are a number of people that myself and the others who have organized this event would like to call forward and share some opening words. And the first person I'd like to call forward is the president of Simon Fraser University, Andrew Petter.
Well, thank you very much, Rudy. It's a thrill to be here, and let me start by acknowledging, of course, that we are privileged to be gathered on the traditional territory of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. It's just really exciting. We've had an incredible start to our 50th anniversary year here at Simon Fraser University, and the installation of Bill Reid's Black Eagle Canoe during that 50th anniversary year is just a wonderful, wonderful component that gives us added reason to celebrate. This canoe represents the resiliency, the creativity, the vibrancy, and the vitality of Northwest Coast canoe cultures. It's a symbol of knowledge, of community, and cultural regeneration. And these themes are hugely important to us at Simon Fraser University. We've been working very hard in recent years, not only to recognize the traditional peoples of these territories, but to really honor the culture and presence of Indigenous peoples, to make this campus a place in which students of Indigenous background feel welcome, and to ensure that we are a university that is trying to do our part to address the needs of Indigenous communities and Indigenous students, and reach out as well to First Nations in our efforts. Through these programs and initiatives, SFU is striving to really be an instrument through which Indigenous peoples can realize their full potential, and in which we can recognize our responsibility to support the truth and reconciliation process through education and engagement, and to seek to provide forums for sharing Aboriginal history, knowledge, and experience. And I must say, by doing so, this is not something which we see as simply of benefit to Indigenous students or Indigenous peoples. I think Canada has so much to gain through truth and reconciliation. All Canadians, all of our students have so much to gain from learning more about traditional societies from Indigenous peoples, First Nations, the cultures, the traditions, provide important insights, important knowledge, and are an important component of our mission as an institution. So for all these reasons, we are just incredibly honored to become stewards of this canoe and to share what it represents symbolically, spiritually, and culturally with a broader audience. This place is obviously wonderful in the sense that it is situated on the corner of the iconic AQ, the heart of Simon Fraser University, and I think it is a place that will be visited much, in fact, much more now as a result of this installation. I'd really like to thank our generous donors, Charles and Gayle Pancerzewski, for making it possible for us to accept this wonderful gift. I also want to thank some others, the Bill Reid Centre, which has helped to facilitate the move and this event, Frank Anfield for his commitment and dedication to the Centre, Dr. George MacDonald of the Centre, who couldn't be here today but has labored over many years on behalf of the Bill Reid Centre and SFU to gather the history of Indigenous peoples of the Northwest Coast. The Bill Reid Foundation for its gift of Indigenous Northwest Coast art to SFU in 2011. We are so proud to be stewards of that magnificent collection which people visit and are inspired by at the Bill Reid Gallery, and to have that as part of the legacy that we are now helping to steward for all British Columbians, all Canadians. And I'd like to thank you, Rudy, Dr. Reimer, for performing the witnessing ceremony and for your important cultural work with the university. So thank you all for being here today. It's great to see this turnout. It's wonderful to be here. We've been waiting for some time for the arrival of the canoe. I've been watching as it's floated in and seen it been installed. But now this is the official installation, and I'm just thrilled that we can all be here to witness it. What I'd now like to do is to invite Herb Auerbach, founding director of the Bill Reid Foundation, to come forward and to say a few words. Herb.
Thank you, Dr. Petter, and welcome everybody on this wonderful Haida Day. When we first moved to British Columbia, my wife said, "There's something about bad weather. It's better than nothing." So, I'll enjoy it. I want to share Dr. Petter's point that I'm happy to be on the traditional territories of the Coast Salish people. I am the founding director of the Bill Reid Foundation, which operates the Bill Reid Gallery, that honors the legacy of Bill Reid and celebrates the vital and diverse cultures of Northwest Coast art. And I've been asked to say a few words on behalf of the foundation. Bill Reid was born in 1920 to a Haida mother and a father of Scottish German descent. He learned of his Haida heritage in his 20s. And when he embarked on his artistic career, designing and making Haida-inspired jewelry, large totem poles, and a number of other wonderful pieces. However, it was the canoe that really captured Bill's imagination and his attention. And in his words, he said, "Western art starts with the figure, but Northwest Coast art starts with the canoe." Bill Reid was one of the instrumental figures in reinvigorating canoe culture on the Northwest Coast. He carved a 50-foot canoe called Loo Taas, which means wave eater in Haida. Loo Taas was carved for and made a triumphant entrance to Vancouver's Expo '86. This remarkable canoe traveled to Paris in 1986 with its Haida paddlers, and to Haida Gwaii in 1987, and then returned in 1998, and where it carried Bill Reid to his final resting place at Canoe. The Black Eagle canoe, the one you see here, is one of 4 fiberglass canoes cast from Loo Taas, which was used as a mold. And Bill called these 4 fiberglass canoes his Tupperware fleet. They were commissioned by Dr. George MacDonald, who, as you heard, unfortunately couldn't be with us today. And they were commissioned when Dr. MacDonald was director of the Canadian Museum of Civilization. Charles and Gayle Pancerzewski made it possible for the canoe to be gifted to the Bill Reid Foundation. And thanks again, Charles and Gayle, for your very generous gift. And I'm delighted that you're able to join us here today, all the way from America. And I would like to join Andrew in his thanks not only to John and Gayle, but to Dr. Anfield, for Frank Anfield and others. I'd also like to thank SFU for its tremendous contribution to the Bill Reid Foundation, including giving a home to Bill Reid's magnificent Black Eagle Canoe. Now, although these conclude my formal remarks on behalf of the Foundation, if you'd permit me a minute, I should like to take this opportunity to add a personal note. As difficult and satisfying as it was to establish the Foundation and the gallery, this could not have been done without the help of generous supporters like the Pancerzewskis, like Fran Anfield and others, and a devoted staff led by our new executive director, Alexandra Montgomery. Has Alexandra shown up yet? Is she here? Her plane was delayed and I don't know if she's made it. But we would not be here today if it wasn't for the initial generosity of Dr. Martine Reid, when she gifted hers and Bill's precious collection to the Foundation, and her confidence that it would be stewarded properly. I'm delighted that we have formed this partnership with SFU. I'm delighted to see the canoe installed in the campus, and I'm delighted that SFU was able to host this event. Thank you.
Wojcicka, for sharing your words. I'd also like to call up one of my cousins, Chris Lewis, if you could come up and share some words on your experience here at SFU and representing our communities.
Wojciech, Jans. Hat squal tinoya, siam, si yoyo qua, si talktin, queen snas, gahot mishok milk. Just wanted to thank Rudy for the work that he's conducting today. I spoke a little words in our Skohotmish language, saying it's great to see each and every one of you today, respected leaders, chiefs, matriarchs, honored guests. It's a privilege to see each and every one of you today, and I want to thank and pay homage to all of you for honoring the invitation of the work that's going to be conducted today. My name is C. Talkton. My English name is Chris Lewis. I'm one of 16 elected representatives of the Squamish Nation. On behalf of my chief and council and the elders and citizens of our great nation, I want to formally welcome you to our traditional territory that Yumps mentioned we share with our relatives, Tsleil-Waututh, just across the water here, and the Musqueam people who are to the south of us. I want to talk a little bit about the importance of this place. This place to the Squamish people is called Tlekluwaitin, which means the place of arbutus trees. It was also a great place to strip those arbutus trees, so our elders would tell us that they would strip the bark from the arbutus trees. So the place that we now call Burnaby Mountain is Tlekluwaitin. The shoreline to the north of us was also very rich in sea urchins. We no longer can harvest those sea urchins anymore because it's closed. But I think it's very pertinent to explain that we have a place name here and that our people used to utilize this mountain. Burnaby Lake, just close by to us, is also, as my elders mentioned to me, a spiritual place, a place of cleansing, a place where we would call it a portal to a different realm. So we would use these sacred lakes, these sacred watering holes, to go and offer training. I'm very honored to be asked to say a few words on behalf of the nation and participate in this ceremony. The man who designed this canoe, Bill Reid, was very close to our people as well. He was one of the first leaders to come to our community and offer one of his canoes to help us train as our canoe culture was getting revitalized. So he was a part of that and he did not hesitate when we asked to borrow a canoe while we're building our own. So we do have a spiritual connection and want to honor the man that we're honoring today, that he was there for the Squamish people to assist us in the revitalization of our Coholth, our seagoing canoe culture. And I'm glad to say that we have many canoe families now that participate in tribal journeys. I think we had up to 4 canoes in the last tribal journeys. And we have many of our youth out there in the waters practicing in tradition and practicing their culture. I want to talk a little bit about, as Yumps asked, my experience here at the university. I graduated in 2005. And the transition I've seen at this place since I've come back, that's 10 years ago, there's way more space and recognition of our peoples, our indigenous peoples. And it's a testament to today's work is that we have one more piece in the spirit of reconciliation that our people used to utilize this place. Our teachings remind us that all great journeys start in the mountains. Our people would go to the mountains for a vision quest or to start their journey. And much like how water flows from the mountain into a stream, into a river, into the ocean, life is no different. So our elders will teach us to come to the mountains for training. So I always hold this institution, this great university, in great esteem because it's on the top of a mountain. So we have all the students here, indigenous and non-indigenous, starting their journey. And what a great testament to have this great canoe as a representation of that journey, that all these young minds that are going to be our future leaders, our future prime ministers, look at this canoe and be reminded that they don't walk alone, that they walk amongst indigenous people, and that we're no longer invisible in our lands. I just also want to thank the organizers and thank the generous donation from the family and those who've traveled a long way. And again, on behalf of our hereditary chiefs and our council, I want to welcome you to this place and honored to be here. Uts'am.
Uts'am. Wichita. We'd like to call forward one more person before we start the actual Uts'am. And this is someone closely related to Bill Reid. Nika Collison. We'd like to ask you to come forward and also share a few words this afternoon.
Hello, Kilside, Dr. Reimer, and the one standing with you. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge and pay respect to the Coast Salish on whose territory we stand. Sluai Aitan. I hope I said that correct enough. Kuljat Ganga, Kilslai Ganga, Khaidagat Laisis, Pachilang Koyasis, Galang Wadlu Hangafel Kilt La, Deech Ath Jinaga, Jiskan Hanudik Eagaga. Nika Kalasin Hanudik Eagaga Yatshaidaga Kifki. Ahayat Diguringai Yuanga. Ahayat Eat Yahgudangang Iljuas Bill Reid. Ahayat Eat Kunisi Yakudangang. Co-Salish people, Simon Fraser University, Hawa, Dalang, Waluhan, Qaida, Sau Dalang, Waluhan, Qaida, At Dalang Sting, Dalang, Waluhan, Gothel, Kilt La. Loo Taas was a life-changing experience for myself and many others. Her life began as a tree, and then she became Clu, a canoe. It would not have been possible without Gujau working with my Chinai Bill Reid and a couple others to research the fine engineering feats of our ancestors to be able to make Loo Taas. I'm speaking of her first because she's the mother. As Herb mentioned, she was part of many significant and pivotal events in the history of the Haida, in the history of our brothers and sisters, and in the history of Canada. She opened Expo 86. She was paddled up the Seine River in France and shown at the Musée de l'Homme. I was part of those, and I was part of the journey home from Granville Island following a traditional canoe route, trade route up the coast where we connected with our relatives, our friends, with other incredible First Nations. And in that, Loo Taas was also as political as us First Nations can be. When we left Vancouver, we were in the midst of stopping logging on Othligwai, Lyle Island. Miles Richardson, Jr., Kilsley Kaji Singh, said at the time when we left, well, she'll either be a journey home or she'll be a war journey. It depends on what happens as Canada makes their own decision. We arrived in Skidegate on July 11th, 1987, and it was on that day that Canada made the announcement that they would join our nation in protecting this small part of the earth, which led to an inspiration of collaboration between us and Canada and many others around the world. She was used politically again to blockade against unsustainable sport fishing in northern Haida Gwaii. She brought Chinai Bill home. I'm Bill's granddaughter. She brought him home on his final journey to Canoe, Ilnagai, his ancestral homeland. Along with that, she's participated in countless community ceremonies, including repatriation, the bringing home of our ancestors, Ikunisi, for burial, weddings. I was brought in to Skidegate on Loo Taas to marry my husband, Nangulas, Danny Robertson over there. She's participated in canoe races, and she also in 2010 brought Chief Gidansta, Percy Williams, into the beach of Kailnagai, Sea Lion Town, home of the Haida Gwaii Museum and Haida Heritage Centre, so he could run the Olympic flame. And there's many other beautiful occurrences. Herb also mentioned that there are 4 fiberglass copies of Loo Taas. One of them lives in Skidegate along with Loo Taas. We call her Looplex. That was the name Chinai gave her. I didn't realize she had the nickname Tupperware. Like Loo Taas, she serves in our community in so many ways, also the youth going to their cultural camp. I want you to know I'm Haida, and that means I talk long if it's a good ceremony. it's a good ceremony. The second Tupperware lives at the Canadian Museum of History, Red Raven. I've also had the privilege of having experiences with her. In 2000, a big delegation of our people traveled to the Canadian Museum of History to repatriate the remains of 148 of our ancestors. In the spirit of collaboration, we worked very well with that museum. And lo and behold, we found this canoe. Hi, David. And we insisted that we paddle her in the river. And they were a little hesitant, but we explained where are we going to steal her off to. So they gave us strict boundaries of where we could paddle, and we jumped in and we were paddling, and off in the distance, quite a ways off, we saw a little island with a teepee and some smoke. So we took off, and we went and we met those people. And we stopped and we asked permission to come ashore. They came out to greet us and they did this. So we turned around and we paddled in stern first, which signifies peace. A chief stood up and gave a speech. We exchanged gifts. We exchanged the singing of songs. And then we paddled back to the museum. And so even inland, these canoes serve to connect us with the Indigenous peoples. The third canoe lives at the University of British Columbia. If I understand it correctly, she's taken care of by the First Nations Centre of Learning. I'm not sure that I've used the proper name. I don't know her that well. And then, of course, today we have Black Eagle. And again, while I have no personal history with her, she's had such a wonderful relationship with you people. And I'm so excited for the education and inspiration she's going to provide here. Working as a curator in the Haida Gwaii Museum and in repatriation, both very closely with our Haida community, I've come to learn how much a single treasure can expand into just a world of knowledge. It demonstrates our inextricable relationship with the natural, supernatural. This canoe explains the great extent of our ancestors and current day artists' knowledge of physics, engineering, navigation, weather, among many other things. In discussing canoes with elders, I've learned fascinating pieces of information from our travels to Japan, to Hawaii, how we used to fish from shore for halibut before we had canoes, that there are almost 40 words for waves. Black Eagle will be able to tell stories, both historic and contemporary, some unique to my nation, some from others. It will tell of our connections. And of course, she can tell the shared story of First Nations people and Canada, the true story, and create the future story, be a part of that. She will help us remember Ilduis, Bill Reid, and his legacy. She will bring people together, and she will do so much more. So on behalf of Bill's family, of which here we have Martine, Chinai Allen, cousin Steve, my husband Danny, I'm not sure if there's others I may have missed. And on behalf of the Haida, I'd like to say Hawa to Charles and Gayle Pancerzewski, SFU's Bill Reid Centre, Frank Anfield, Dr. George MacDonald, the Bill Reid Foundation, Mr. Auerbach, Chris Lewis, Kilsly, again, Dr. Reimer, Andrew, Bettner? I'm so sorry, I owe you money now. No, I do. I hope you have money, Danny. Hawa as well to those who will be conducting and witnessing the ceremony. And if I'm correct, there is food afterwards still, Brian, or is there food? Yay, okay, that's awesome. So Hawa to the cooks who will provide us food to share with each other. Hawa to Brian. And Hawa to SFU for providing the Black Eagle such a beautiful and gracious home from which she will continue to serve us all on our journey together. I have no doubt that she will be well loved and cared for. And Hawa again to SFU as well for their commitment to and vision of reconciliation. We sau dalang wadluhan kaida at dalang sting dalang wadluhan gaful killa Hawa.
Chekwen Quintomi. Very honored to hear all these words from what we refer to in our Coast Salish communities are Siam. Nowadays, that's used as chief, but more traditionally, that term Siam are respected people. We thought we'd give them time right off the start here this afternoon for them to have a chance to speak. And what we'd like to do now is I'd like to call forward my helpers here, Chantel and Cheyenne. They are two students here at Simon Fraser University, and they're going to be helping myself today with the work that we're going to be doing. Some people, we've referred to it before, and you can see it in the program. In our Coast Salish communities, in Squamish, we say Uts'am, and this means to witness. And as we go through the ceremony, I'll explain some of the aspects of Uts'am. So what we're going to do, in the interest of time, if we were to do this traditionally within our longhouses, in our villages, in our gatherings, we'd be here for a couple of weeks. Because there would be a lot of people. We'd be bringing out the feasts and the dishes and the food and the desserts and the clean water. And it would be a big, big celebration. But nowadays, we have our busy lives. We all have to go back to work after this. So in the interest of time, but also to honor the Uts'am, the witness ceremony, we're going to call 4 witnesses. And as we go through, I'll explain what being a Uts'am, what being a witness is. And also, I'll explain some of our traditional regalia here and what this represents. So I'm very happy to have these 2 students here. This is an educational institution. We teach in the classroom, but we also, here in First Nation Studies and other departments, there are cultural teachings as well. And so I'd like to thank SFU and everybody involved in organizing this event today for allowing the time to do this so that we can share our, what we refer to as our chiach, or our traditions, our laws, our protocols. And Uts'am is just one example of that. And so when I call out your name, there's going to be 4 of you. We're just going to ask you if you can just stand up. And Chantel and Cheyenne over here, we're going to say a thank you. And of course, the first person we'd like to call for Uts'am is Nika Colison. Nika, could you please stand up? We'd like to call you as a witness today and remember what the work that's being done here. And so, as we acknowledge our first witness, Brian Miles, who's the acting director of the Bill Reid Centre here at SFU, about a month or 2 ago, asked me to help out with this. I said, okay, well, I can do some cultural work. So I'd just like to acknowledge him. He's hired me to speak on his behalf. There's also William Lindsay, Andrew Petter, everyone associated with this, what we're witnessing today. They've hired me as a speaker, and the way I wear this blanket, this identifies me as such. And our blankets cover ourselves, they cover our heart to keep us sort of physically fit, to have the energy and strength to stand up and do this work. And we also wear these headbands so that we can have a clear mind, have good emotions, be of good mind. So, and the two helpers here, they also wear blankets, but these young women, our women, wear the blankets differently. And this identifies them as women, but also as floor workers. And the headbands are also to keep them calm. So the second person we'd like to call to witness this afternoon is David Seymour. David, if you're here, David Seymour, we'd like to ask you to witness today the work that we're going to be doing, Hochka. And so you'll notice Cheyenne and Chantel, they're placing something in people's hands. Traditionally, this would have been food and other items. Nowadays, we use quarters. And we do this as a symbolic, it's not a payment, it's a thank you, it's to acknowledge who you are. And just to say that you are an important person, and we want to recognize you as such. The third person we like to call to witness, Herb Orobach. Herb, we'd like to call you to witness, to remember what is going to happen today. And so I should explain what these people's jobs are. And so by being called as a witness, nowadays we have the internet, we have newspapers, we have TV, many different ways of communication. Back in the day when we'd gather for events like this, we'd be calling people as witnesses because they would be the news conduits to go back to their community, their communities, to their families. And they would go back and hopefully they will say good things about us, that we're doing good work, because we're acknowledging them as the record keepers. And in our traditional societies, we did not have written language. The way we passed down our history was through oral means, by speaking. And so it's their duty to be the news carriers, to go back to their communities and spread the news wide and far about what happened here today. So that's your job. But there's one more witness we'd like to call. And I noticed him walk up here this afternoon, and Brian and I and others were going, who else should we get? And I see him, and he was admiring the canoe. And someone I've known for a while. And I'd like to call Al McMillan. Al, stand up. We'd like to call you as a witness as well. Hochka. So we'd like to acknowledge these four, Uts'am, these witnesses. And we're going to be calling you back after we do a little more cultural work here this afternoon. And from the start of today's event, the ceremony, we want you to keep this in your memory and pass along to everyone you know. And so the next part of the cultural work that we're going to do is we're going to bless the canoe. It's come here. It's had a long journey, and it's just recently came here to SFU. It's been installed in these wonderful wood cradles. I believe they're cedar. That's very suiting. And so what we're going to do is myself and anyone else who feels that they want to join in, we're going to sing a song in blessing. And I'm going to ask my two young helpers here. I have a wood box with some cedar boughs. And we're going to sing a song, and we're going to brush the canoe with these cedar boughs. And this is blessing it, it's cleansing it, it's welcoming it to this new place. And so this is one of the main things that we want you all to Uts'am to witness this afternoon. So if there's anyone who might be able to come up and help me, Chris, I'm glad you brought your drum. I lecture for 3 hours pretty much every day, so my voice gets a little tired. So it's great to have some backup help. So I'll just get the box ready. Maybe either Brian or William, if you could come forward. and hold the cedar box. We're going to fill it with some water, and we're going to dip the cedar boughs in the water, and we're going to brush the canoe and give it a blessing.
Canoe. We're going to sing Tum Tum Slalom, which is a snowbird song. It's a blessing song to represent the change in seasons as we transition from summer months to fall, winter months. So this is a song we use at ceremonies to do blessings. So Tum Tum Slalom, snowbird song, Osia. Whoa, whoa, ho, ho, hey. Whoa, ho, hey. Whoa, ho, hey. Whoa, ho, hey. Whoa, hey. Ha, 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 ha.
All right, didn't that feel good? Thank you. You can all sit down now. Hochika Jacoin Kuntomi for that. It's as one of our relatives, Chief Dan George, would say, on with hollowin' and swallowin'. It makes my heart sing to do this work and to have everyone here. Some kids from my daughter's daycare have come over and visited, and it's really nice to see them. And I think my daughter's probably taking a nap right now, so I'm not sure if she made it or not, but it's great to see them here. So this is one of the things that we do. We bless canoes, we bless house posts, totem poles, and it's a protocol here on the West Coast. It's very common for many of us Indigenous groups to do this. But today, we want to do some more cultural work as part of the Uts'am, and this is also very important. How this came to be here, there's a long history. Some of that's been shared today, but it wouldn't be possible without the individual who's donated this to the Bill Reid Foundation, the Bill Reid Centre, to SFU. And we'd like to stand this person up and acknowledge them. And so, Charles Pancerzewski, we'd like you to stand up, and Brian, if you could come forward as well. So lay it down square on the ground. Spread it out, lay it down on the ground. So what we're doing here is part of our protocol. Our young ladies, you can put each one blanket on top of the other and make it nice and square to the cardinal directions. So just turn it a bit so it's facing nice and square, just like the AQ here. Yeah, and put one right on top of the other. What we're doing here, we're identifying sacred space. And we're going to stand up Charles and recognize him for his contribution. And we do this. We'd like Charles, please stand on the blanket. We'd like to stand you up and acknowledge you. Brian is going to lay a blanket on you. It's a beautiful piece of work. This is a Pendleton blanket that Susan Point, a Musqueam Coast Salish artist, has designed, and it's in honor of Stanley Park and our mutual histories there. And we blanket people like this to stand them up, to recognize them for their important contributions, for what they've done. And so Brian, representing us here at SFU, has done that. So we really want to hold our hands up to you. When we do this in Coast Salish territories, it's saying, Hochika Chekwin Quintomi, thank you very much. You're an important person, and we'd like to honor you today.
Here.
Sure. I'd just like to thank Charlie for your involvement with the canoe. It's been a long commitment, all the way from Ottawa to the foundation and all the way up to the university in that time. So a big thank you to you, and a big thank you to everyone else that helped organize all of this. Big handful of you, Adam, Francisco, Elizabeth, Bill, William, Ron, Rudy, of course. Yeah, just a really big thank you to everyone.
And Charles, you get to do some more donating. Part of our tradition here in Coast Salish territory, is that the person we honor, we lay down these blankets, and Charles, there's 2 of them there. Those are free for you to give to whoever you choose here today. And we need some better safety pins.
Maybe I should do this without drinking with
Sure.
it.
Yeah. So anytime that you want, if there's someone who isn't here, if you'd like to remember them, you can give one of those blankets to them or anybody that's here today. But that's you're free to choose to do that.
I think
So here on the West Coast, in many of our traditions, this is how we share our wealth and acknowledge each other. So we're almost finished here this afternoon. One thing I'd like to point out before things get too busy and we split our own ways, just over here on one of the pillars of the AQ, there is a plaque. And when you get time, when we're done the ceremony, the Uts'am this afternoon, please take a chance to look at that. It tells much of the story, some of the story of the Black Eagle canoe here. So what we'd like to do now, to sort of wrap things up, one of the things we do in our culture is that we'd like to call the 4 witnesses, Nika, David, Herb, and Al, in that order. If they'd like to, again, just get up and share a few words, how they feel, what they experienced here today about being a witness to Uts'am. Just share a few words on the work that's been happened here this afternoon. So Nika, David, Herb, and Al, we can go in that order. You can come up and share as much as you like or as little as you want. It's up to you.
Hello again, and I will keep it short even though it's such a fun time. But first I'll take care of business. Mr. Pender. I like the sign on the ground, please keep off the canoe, thank you. It's just been such a privilege to be here, and to be asked to be a witness is extremely, just such an honor. So how is so much to you all for that. And what a beautiful ceremony, witness ceremony. Bill he must be so happy right now. So hawa very much Dalangwa Luhan.
How to all of those that were participant in picking me. I'm glad to be on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish at their pleasure, and wish to respectfully honor them. I'm moved by this moment of recognition to be the witness as one who's come to the Haidas as a Mohawk and found the commonality in the understandings of their relationship building, and the relationship building not only between the earth and the people, but between themselves and the rest of the interaction of society. I have realized that there's moments in those relationship building that actually become triggers of that change the world. And as somebody who works with the Haida, and I wish to acknowledge and thank Nika for giving us a great, wonderful history of the mother of this canoe, and how this canoe represents that long history, and how these set of canoes actually changed the whole of the Haida culture on the ground in Haida Gwaii that is so phenomenal. I would honor and want to thank Andrew Petter for the list of critical words of reconciliation and rejuvenation that this canoe brings. It's almost like your gift of the Haida way to finding the new way in the world that we have to navigate through, with climate change, with economic change, with the whole of the world becoming very, very small and very, very pointed. I'm glad to see there's some students here, and I hope that there would be some more students understand that the symbol and the meaning of this canoe. It seems so lonely in that park, filled with water, and now I think it's going to be filled with joy, hope, and wisdom from these places, and I wish that it would do that. I thank you for calling me as a witness.
Well, what a surprise. I'm really surprised to have been called, first of all, to speak, secondly, as a witness, and thirdly, to receive a blanket. Thank you, Charles. That was wonderful. We're living at a time where tradition doesn't seem to be a very important part of many of our lives. And I think having these traditions introduced to us who don't come from places where there's much tradition shows us how important and meaningful it is. So as a witness, I've remembered it all in great detail, and I'll go home to my computer and I'll print it all out and send it to my friends, exactly what happened here this afternoon. So thank you very much.
It's an honor to be called to witness at such an important occasion. I thank Rudy and William for that, and I thank all who were involved in this ceremony. It's so important to see First Nations cultures represented in this place. And it's so important to continue working to ensure our Indigenous students feel welcome and honored in the hallways and the classrooms of this institution. It's also important to see this as an important event, but in a continuing process of ensuring that recognition. So we should feel good about today. This was an important stage, but we also should recognize there's more yet to be done, and people like Rudy and so many others here, I'm sure, will be working along to that objective. Thank you.
To all the witnesses, we'd like you to stand up yet again. No, just the witnesses, I'm sorry. We forgot to do one thing when you came up. We thanked you with some quarters, but we'd like to thank you again and recognize you as important people. We're going to give you a blanket. And I have to say and acknowledge William Lindsay and the Office of Aboriginal Peoples. These beautiful red blankets, he came forward, he stepped forward and helped out. And so he's sharing his wealth as well today. And when you look at these blankets for the four witnesses, these are what I refer to in my classroom as a mnemonic device. It's to help you to remember the Uts'am today, what happened. So I'll give them to my helpers here, and they'll pass one along to you. What you got? So this brings a close to the Uts'am ceremony, and thankfully we have some beverages, some snacks available, and it's not raining. It's a nice day. So that concludes the cultural work that I've been asked to do on behalf of my family here at SFU, what I refer to as my academic family. And now it's just time to sit, chat, enjoy the rest of the afternoon, take a closer look at Black Eagle, enjoy a beverage and a snack. So thank you for coming out today. It's really important for us to do this work, and I'm glad there is such a good turnout. Rachika, Chekwik, and Tomi.